Hey guys, welcome back to my channel if you guys are new here. Hi, my name is Sydney, and today I am very excited. So today we're going to be duping the new Natasha Denona Love palette. So this palette was just announced yesterday at the time that I'm filming this video. So little disclaimer, I am just creating these dupes or showing you guys these dupes based off the pictures that I've seen so far that have come out on Instagram and swatches and all that good stuff. If you guys haven't seen one of these videos before, you wouldn't know that this video series is actually inspired by Kaleido. I of course have her channel linked down below. As soon as I saw this Natasha Denona Love palette, I was like, I was very intrigued because this palette is another one of those smaller palettes. I believe it has, I want to say like 12 shades in it. That could be wrong. 12 to 15 shades in it. And it is filled with smaller pans, so it's at a bit of a lower price point. I believe it's going to retail for $65, and I did just recently buy the Sunrise palette, so I was a little bit intrigued because I'm much more comfortable with that price point than her normal like $129 price point or something ridiculous like that. But I saw this palette and I was like, you know what, that's pretty, but I bet I could dupe it. And I did a little poll on Instagram, and a lot of you guys wanted to see what kind of dupes I could come up with, so without further ado, let's hop into those. So today I actually came up with some comparable palettes and then also a singles dupe to share with you guys. I don't always do a singles dupe and comparable palette. Sometimes I just do one or the other, but I was feeling inspired today, so that's what we did. So I do want to first start with the comparable palette. So if you guys own these palettes, you might not need this palette. You're probably going to be able to create some pretty similar looks because they do have some similar tones in them. So the first one is the Femme Rosa, or the She palette from Colourpop. I don't ever know what the name of this palette is because like Femme Rosa is in big letters, but so is she, so I don't know. Someone leave me the name of this palette down below because I talk about it all the time. But I thought this palette really resembled those beautiful pink and purpley shades. It does also have a little splash of cool tones in there, but I mostly grabbed it for the pinks, purples, reds, peachy shades. And I feel like, honestly, this palette is like the quintessential Valentine's Day palette. I think I did a Valentine's Day tutorial with this last year, or maybe it was on my Instagram, but I just feel like this whole palette just screams like Valentine's Day. So if you didn't want to shell out the money for the Natasha Denona palette, I feel like this could be a good option. The only thing I feel like this palette is lacking is some of those purples that are included in the Natasha Denona palette, as well as some of the cool tones. So the next palette that I found in my collection that I thought was a little bit similar is the Colourpop Strawberry Shake palette. So obviously this palette is much more red. There aren't any purples or really any silvers in this palette, but I thought the pinks and red tones in here were very, very similar to the ones that I saw in the Natasha Denona Love palette. And kind of my philosophy is when I shop my stash for dupes is when these shades blend out on the eyes, am I really going to see the different nuances between my Colourpop shadows and my Natasha Denona shadows? Probably not. So I thought this had some beautiful similar tones, and I can definitely see this one being a fantastic Valentine's Day palette as well. And then the last palette, which honestly when I sat down to write down my dupes list, I was like, this palette is going to be the best dupe out of all of them. But after swatching them out, I feel a little bit more conflicted about this one than I do about the other ones. But it is the Juvia's Place Magic Mini palette. So I chose this palette because I feel like it has a nice mix of pinks and purples and those silvery tones, but I feel like they're very different tonally from the ones in the Natasha Denona Love palette when I originally thought they were going to be much more similar, but it is a beautiful palette. I'm going to insert swatches on the screen, or have been inserting swatches on the screen of the shades in these palettes that I think are comparable or could create a comparable color story to the Natasha Denona Love palette to kind of help you guys out there. But this was my last palette dupe, and honestly probably the worst one. I feel like it's closer in like the range of tones in the Natasha Denona palette, but I feel like the actual colors themselves are much more off from those in the Natasha Denona palette. So now let's hop into the singles palette that I created to kind of resemble the Natasha Denona Love palette. So here is the singles palette that I created to dupe the Natasha Denona Love palette. Out of the palettes that I'm showing you guys today, this is definitely the closest that I got to the Natasha Denona palette. I didn't try to like dupe it shade for shade like I normally do. I mean, I did in some spots, but in other spots I was just kind of like, oh, this looks like it would go nice with this color story, so I just threw it in. The biggest thing that I feel is lacking in my palette is some cool tones. I am not a cool toned eyeshadow girl, you guys, so I have very few cool tone singles, so there aren't very many in here. I know the Natasha Denona Love palette has a very bright, brilliant silver shade, but my palette does not because it's not really my jam. So I did swatch these kind of row by row, and I did grab some swatches off of Natasha Denona's Instagram to kind of compare. Again, like I said, I didn't follow that palette super duper closely, like shade placement wise. I tried to keep it kind of similar so I could compare them in the swatches, but it might not be totally identical. But let's hop into the very first row. So in the first row, the first shade is Colourpop Treat Yourself. Then Colourpop Save It for Later, Terra Moon's Bonfire, Winky Lux Purr, and Colourpop 143. In the second row, we have Colourpop Hop On, Colourpop Woke, Colourpop 1111, Colourpop Earthshine, and Colourpop Something Special. In the last row, we have Colourpop Blurred Lines, Colourpop Big Spoon, Colourpop Pebbles, and Looksy Beauty Raisin Hell. So that concludes my singles palette dupe. I'm really happy with how this palette came out. This definitely kind of quenched my urge to go out and buy that Natasha Denona palette. I do think it's very beautiful, and please don't take this video as me trying to tell you, no, you can't buy that. You can do whatever you want. It's your money, it's you, spend it however you choose to, but if you guys are on a low buy or a no buy, or just that palette is just a little bit out of your price range, I would highly recommend looking into your collection, seeing what you have. Objectively, I do think this palette is a gorgeous palette. I really do enjoy most of the color stories that Natasha Denona comes out with, but this one, it's just a little too dupeable for me. So I think I'll be skipping over this one. Let me know down in the comments below what your guys' thought is on this palette. Do you think it's beautiful? Are you gonna buy it? Are you gonna dupe it? If you have duped it, tag me on Instagram or leave me your Instagram handle down below, and I'd love to check out your dupe. But that's gonna wrap it up for me today. If you guys did enjoy this kind of shop my stash for dupe video, I have a long list of other ones that I've done in the past, so I can link those down below if you guys are interested. But that's gonna wrap it up for me today, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye! I literally forgot what palette we're duping, you guys. Oh no. And it is a smaller price point. But I mostly grabbed this for the pinks, purples, reds, peaches, gorgeous Georgia. I also grabbed, I just need to stop filming. I've been filming for too long, I can't talk anymore. Or leave me your Instagram handle